So could the Chapter 6 map last for 2 years? Fortnite's had two 2-year chapters, Chapter 1 Athena and Chapter 2 Apollo, with the others each lasting around a year. Some people really miss the 2-year chapters. They miss what it meant for you as a player, and the relationship you built with that map over that longer period, compared to just a year with the others. I actually made a video about this roughly halfway through Chapter 5 where I laid out some pretty interesting boundaries for chapter maps. And in today's video we're going to revisit that, since we are possibly halfway through this chapter already. And there's a possible mini season that will take us off this map so much earlier. So if you do end up enjoying this content, make sure to hit the like button. And in today's video, let's go for 1,000 likes, because I know we can do it. Easy, let's get it done, thank you. That said, I think it's more difficult now for Fortnite to support a 2-year map, especially with the community wanting more frequent changes, bigger updates. I believe chapter maps need a clear framework, a solid blueprint on what truly defines a map worthy of a chapter, rather than just something you add to constantly until it completely loses its identity. Like at the end of chapter 5, you can't add any more to the map. For me, a true chapter map needs to maintain most of its original outline. It can have one significant boundary shift. The Ret biome in chapter 5 and the Mega City biome in chapter 4 were great changes, because they added something new without compromising the core structure of the map. But if you look at the versions 2630 and 3141, the final versions of those maps, adding another full biome at that stage risks changing the map shape entirely. It's like the old saying about the broom. If you replace the handle and the head, is it still the same broom? The same goes for a map. If you keep swapping out big parts of it, at what point is it no longer the same map? Add one more brush, and sure, it's still a map, it's no longer that map. The overall structure should stay recognizable, and that's what gives a chapter map its identity. It evolves, but it doesn't lose itself. And honestly, 6 months into Onoshima or Hermes, I'm not getting that same feeling I got with chapter 5. So could chapter 6 last 2 years? So let's have a look at the map evolution of chapter 6. We have season 1 and season 3. Of course there is a placebo to this. This is actually the 4th season of chapter 6, because of course of the Star Wars mini season, and we are set to have another mini season, and that could affect this chapter in a big way. Let's have a look at chapter 5 season 1 and chapter 5 season 3, which gave us a significant boundary change in the Ret biome. I want to be honest with you, maybe I'm a bit early with this video, since I did film that video in chapter 5 season 4, which was the final season, that chapter. Yeah, I know I said I filmed that video halfway through the chapter, but I'm thinking halfway through the year is different than halfway through a chapter, because obviously a chapter starts in December. My bad. And OG normally messes that up. But of course, chapter 5 season 4 completely changed the biome at the top of the map. They've also had a significant boundary change. Of course, a few massive biome changes, the 2 Greek biomes in the underworld and Mount Olympus, as well as Doom's home country. And we go back to the broom, or the ship of feces. Like, I feel like the map is completely losing its identity if you try and add to it, or do a chapter 2 thing and try and take something away. You guys in the comments may completely disagree with this, and something I want to touch on which people brought up in my prior video about this subject. Some people said, oh Jay, you didn't really give an example at the end of the video as to what Epic could have changed about chapter 5. You know, Jay, to make chapter 5 a 2-year map. I'm like, maybe I didn't quite get my point across, but hopefully in this video I've condensed it down a bit more, because the framework I outlaid in the video is why I didn't say anything. So a map is allowed a significant boundary change, to either a quarter of it or to half of it. Couple biome changes, and of course try and keep that spine to a chapter map if you do end up changing quite a lot, like chapter 5. It's important for a chapter's map to have a spine, the familiar parts of the map that grounds it to its season 1 alliteration, and what I've highlighted here does that. And that's why I didn't interject at that point to the chapter 5 map, because it was signed, sealed and delivered. It was done. I would either have to take away from the map or add another significant boundary change that would have completely changed the shape of the map, and it would have lost its identity. And then Helios would have been a lot of Helios. So I was meant to say a lot of hills, kind of lost. I don't know what I was going with that. But currently, I believe chapter 6 has the ability at this current point to last over a year. Maybe not 2 years, but definitely when I did that video in August 2024, I was definitely convinced that map wasn't lasting a year. I'm surprised it even made it to chapter remix or whatever it was, because even in season 3 that map felt cluttered. Or maybe I should have waited until August to do this video and we would have been in chapter 6 season 4, the bogged theme season, and the 5th season of chapter 6. And of course in that season we could probably get a massive boundary change with the bogs coming in, the invasion season as it's also being called, and of course could age the map horribly. And maybe chapter 6 season 4 up against chapter 5 season 4 would have been a fairer comparison. Anyone watching this video, I don't think we want a repeat of the early chapters. Yes, they're great maps, but if we're examining them in this sort of way, not great. The chapter 1 map after year, chapter 2 map after year. Back then that was great. Nowadays, I feel like majority of people would be complaining. And even when you see the final versions of the chapter 1 and chapter 2 maps, you look at them and go, these maps have more story to tell. Unlike chapter 4 and chapter 5, you look at them and you think your story's done. Like chapter 1 stayed pretty much the same up until the second year. Then there was one significant biome change and then a significant boundary change with season 7. And Apollo is a worse example. They reverted map changes quite a bit, definitely with the center of the map, the agency, the authority, the 0 point zone, Spire, all the map changes mostly centered around the center. And I believe where this was fine for that map, I feel like with islands, we should be growing with the islands changes, not reverting them every season. What we do on the island should matter. And just to say, don't get me wrong, Athena and Apollo are great maps, but talking about them in this way, they're not great. If you want the framework that was used to give Apollo longevity to Oronoshima and we start switching out the map changes, I don't think you guys be happy with that. So yes, Apollo, one of the best maps in Fortnite, but for map changes, really awful. These are decisions that Fortnite has to consider, and they do think about. For example, when the Star Wars map was finally revealed to us, many people wasn't happy about the POIs being dotted around the corners of the map. But of course they plan out the map, and knew that the Super Season would come and give us Demon's Domain, Utopia, and Supernova Academy. And of course they also knew they were keeping the Star Wars POIs. You can only imagine how annoyed people would have been if the Star Wars POIs got added into the center of the map, and then they added this Super Season and put Supernova Academy in the corner, Utopia in the corner, and Demon's Domain in the corner. So Fortnite thinks about these things. Of course, knowing what we know about how the end of the season will transpire with the fall of the Academy. So next season we could get our boundary change. At the north side of the map, with the Academy, the first resistant base being completely changed. And with the volcano probably being some form of an outpost, and that won't change, that will just be bug orientated, I suppose. So at the moment, I think this map may last a little bit longer than a year, maybe a year and a half, could be 2 years. Although with the mini seasons, and possibly this next one coming up is a Simpsons season, and it's meant to not even be taking place on the Battle Royale map. Like next season, season 4 could be the last season on this map. Me saying the map can do more seasons isn't the same as what's actually happening, and that season 4 should be the last season on this map according to leaks. So the Simpsons season is meant to bring us a 40-person Battle Royale. But of course, that was before we had the introduction of Squid Game Reload. And of course that collab so far has done pretty well. So maybe we will still have Chapter 6 Season 5, as well as The Simpsons in Reload. It's of course a bit up in the air how the Simpsons season or the Simpsons collab will play out. In my head, I feel like this map can get halfway through 2026, but of course Chapter 7 looks to be coming in December, and the Norse mythology will arrive. I'm sure as I record this video, someone at Epic Games is looking at the Chapter 7 map in all its glory, design, and Norse mythology. Comment down below what you make about this. So maybe I'm in my own bubble with my community and the content creators I talk to, but no one is like wishing Chapter 7 currently to come any quicker. Even though the Star Wars season wasn't great, everyone was just like, let's get another Chapter 6 season. While in Chapter 5 it was, let's get Chapter 6 here. It wasn't, oh, let's get Chapter 5 Season 4 in. It was like, oh, can we just end this chapter now? At the moment, I don't hear any of that. It's just, if there's a bad season, let's just give us another Chapter 6 season. Let's go. We love this map. We're not hating it at the moment. But as I said, let me know down below what you think. And until next time, it has been your boy, Miss JY. Thanks for watching.